Welcome to the Alive Society podcast, where ordinary is canceled and playing it safe is not on the menu. Life is calling. Are you answering? I'm your host, Levi Cully, and we're diving headfirst into the stories of trailblazers, risk takers, and go-getters who've mastered the art of living life loud, proud, and totally alive. This is your wake-up call, my friend. We're here to shake you out of the mundane, pull you out of autopilot, and ignite the fire in your soul to become the main character in your story. Because life is too short to sit on the sidelines. It's time to own your passion, chase your purpose, and reclaim your aliveness. Get ready to laugh, cry, and feel all the feels as we uncover the secrets to fearless living. This is more than a podcast, it's a movement. The Alive Society is your tribe, and together, we're creating lives that feel like an epic adventure. So buckle up, hit play, and let's get alive. Welcome to the Alive Society podcast, and let's make this life unforgettable. We've got another guest here with us. I've got Sam Weiberg with me, and this dude's the absolute GOAT. I'll tell you why right now. So Sam and I are neighbors. We live in Nibley, Utah. And when you think about the Alive Society and what's being alive and what does it really mean to be alive, and it's just like being more yourself and not letting the world push you around with their stupid ideologies and stuff. And so the best way to introduce Sam is like to tell you how I met this dude. So I was moving into my condo, and it's kind of important to meet the people across the hall. So I was like moving in, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" And I was like, "Whoa, hey, what's up, dog? I love this energy." And he's like, just all over. And we just get talking. And like, this is a driveway conversation that goes probably 30 minutes about, we just got in the thick of it with like talking about business and real estate and work and financial advising and planning and like motorbiking. And oh man, it was just all the good things of life. And it wasn't the whole like, how's the weather? Yep. I like your shoes. Anyways, and then I saw him a couple weeks later, and he was driving RC trucks. Like, yeah, if these listeners haven't freaking seen these things, like we're talking full-grown adult,
they're like
RC
10th
cars.
scale.
Yeah. And I have a few, and I drive them all the time, and it's like I've always felt embarrassed or like unaccepted for that hobby.
Well, because they're toys.
They're totally toys.
When you're a 10-year-old kid, that's what you get for Christmas, and so playing them with them when I'm 24,
like it's baller. So and then I catch him out driving his RC car, and I'm like, dude, we were meant for each other. So yeah, that's the introduction. Sam does financial planning. He's building a team of financial planners. He does seal coating on asphalt.
Yep.
He works at a ranch. He dirt bikes. He does all the things outdoors, big hunter. And I'll let you talk more about all that.
Sure.
But yeah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Stoked to be here.
Awesome.
The Alive Society.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So Sam, talk to us. The first question that's most important is tell me like what keeps you alive, what makes your heart come alive, and what keeps you busy, bro?
A lot of stuff keeps me busy. I try. It's a total balance, obviously, but I won't start into that. But I'll say what keeps me alive is play. I see a lot of mentors of mine, and they're very ambitious dudes, and sometimes they're just always grinding, right? And I love that aspect of it, but my reason for grinding is so I can play more. And I think a lot of those guys say that that's their reason, but then they never actually end up playing.
Yeah.
And I enjoy playing too much. Like I have a lot of hobbies, and they're not cheap hobbies.
Yeah.
And so that was I would say that's my biggest reason.
Dude,
to grind.
Sam, you just called all of us out. Like all of us.
Well,
So that's just such a big thing. So one of my favorite mantras lately is I work to play. I don't play to work.
Right.
Or it usually goes, I work to live. I don't live to work.
Mm-hmm.
But you can put play in there.
Yep.
and like emotionally, play is a need, like a
100%.
human need to like play. That's awesome. That's so true.
Well, I think it gets deeper than that too. Like especially being in the retirement, like I do a lot of retirement plans, and you're constantly dealing with people that are like, they're working their job, they got their plans, and when they're 65, they're gonna hopefully quote unquote retire and what essentially just quit their job and live off of what they barely were able to scrape by with, which doesn't make any sense for me at all because I can't go rip a motocross track when I'm 65. Well, hopefully I will be.
Hopefully, but
I want to be doing that stuff now.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to wait till I'm 65 or whatever the age is. And,
oh man.
So
let's talk. That is so interesting that you bring that up. Let's talk about that. Like, I've always thought that a retirement in my 20s would be way more fruitful than a retirement when I'm 70.
Of course.
Because when you're old, it's like you can't do as much.
100%.
Held back by your body.
Yeah.
I bet that's so interesting working with retirees.
It is. It is. It's weird. And a lot of the times, like just because of my demographic, I do work with a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And it seems like we all start off with that mentality of like, we're all either finding a career, going to college, or starting work, and you're excited about it. But then you start to work a little bit and you start to realize like, is this really what I want to do forever? Like I started out, I served a mission for my church, and then I got home and I was going to be a meat cutter. And I was like, because I've always hunted deer and elk or whatever and enjoyed cutting up meat. And I thought, well, I can make a pretty good living doing this for people and cutting up beef and whatever. And then I realized that like more than half of the meat cutters I talked to about the business were like 70 years old and working 12-hour days just to like scrape by. And I was like, well, everybody says that there's a lot of money in these trades, but then they're all slaving away. So I don't know where I was going with that, but essentially this whole idea of work and play, and maybe it sounds entitled of me, but this whole idea of like, you work now, be a good contributing member to society, and then when you're 65, you can travel and see grandkids and stuff. And that's all great too. And maybe I'm just more worldly. Maybe I just enjoy motorcycles and I'm more hobbies.
I don't think so. Like, I genuinely think that things like school and general society has got a lot of people brainwashed
100%
into being the perfect employee.
Yes.
Like the golden handcuffed employee that will stay there forever.
Yep.
Like, as an employer and an entrepreneur, the most valuable thing on the planet to me is somebody who is a lifer for my company.
Yes.
And totally content with that.
Right.
So what got you into the mindset of an entrepreneur and like, I don't want to spend my life working. I'd rather like work and play.
Probably a couple things. The first thing was when I got married. I got married pretty quick. And at the time I was only working for this ranch that I had worked for since I was in high school. Right.
Okay.
So cow-calf operation, just punching cows. And it's honestly, it's the life. It's really cool, right? You're outdoors, you're doing manly things and all that. And I'm working for this ranch and I'm making whatever my hourly rate. And I got married pretty quick.
How old were you when you were married?
21.
Okay.
So when you got married, I'm sure you realized like life gets real, right? And I went from an Eden. Yeah, she's working too, and I'm working. It's not like I necessarily had this huge, like, burden now to fend for, provide for. But even still, you get that sense, right? Like, okay, I'm now married. I now have a second person in my life that, like, if I don't have my job, both of us are not eating now, right?
Yeah.
And so at that point, I realized, like, I'm not going to be a rancher for the rest of my life. Yeah. And I realized that's not necessarily what I wanted to be. So that's when I went to the meat cutting thing. And then I actually got serious about doing summer sales.
Okay.
Because I had a lot of guys that were like buddies of mine that had done summer sales. And it's like, okay, I'm okay at selling.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking to people, whatever. And so I approached a company and went to, like, I was really getting serious about it. And then I realized, like, well, I could do summer sales in a sense, or just sales and sell houses and just become a realtor. So I was really interested in becoming a realtor. And then, so I approached my brother-in-law, and that's where he kind of comes into the picture. Chase Comby, awesome guy. Give him a shout out. The guy is a wizard. Okay, like the guy, he's 30-some years old right now. He owns property across the United States. Yeah. He's got a full-blown, like, a multi-million-dollar excavation company that he's running. He's got a hair extension company that he's running. He's got, he has, like, high-end horses that he breeds, like, but he's been able to do all this stuff and essentially, back to retirement, retire himself. In the sense that the guy can wake up at noon if he feels like. Yeah. And he's going to be okay. Yeah. Right? Like, he doesn't have to go to this job. So I approached Chase and I was like, hey man, he like help me become a realtor, because he's also a real estate agent. Doing really well with that. And growing up, he was always like the business realtor guy. Yeah. So I was like, hey, help me get into real estate. And he said, yeah, let's do it. But first, you got to check out this finance firm. So unknown to me, he's a partner in the firm, Common Sense Financial. And so he's like, you got to check this out. Get your money in order first, and then everything else will kind of follow, right? And so he trained me on. I became a life agent and got fully trained and licensed and everything, and loving it, right? And so that was what got me into the finance world. And I realized, like, oh wow, this little ranch kid, I don't have to be the ranch kid anymore. I can actually like make something for myself. Yeah. Even having not gone to college. Yeah. Right. So that was like the big awakening, was Chase making me realize, like, oh yeah, I don't have to work till I'm 70 years old. Right. You know.
That's so cool. Like, that person in your life that shows you what your true potential is, just through an example.
Yes, 100%. And I don't even think I realized how much of an example he was. But as I started to like mentor under him, I realized, like, Chase, he's always with his family. Yeah. He can be, right? He's down for whatever. Like, he's a total thrill seeker and an adventure seeker, and has done some cool stuff. Yeah. Because he set his life up that way, and he knows what living is, you know.
That's cool. I love that. And like, so you touched on something that is so important to me. The mentality between work now and play later when I have money versus work hard and play hard now and just do that the rest of my life. Yeah. And set up my life now.
Right.
I am totally against work hard now and play later. And I'll tell you why. And maybe you'll agree, because it sounds like you do. Money makes people more of themselves. So like, if I am me and I just work and I don't play, and if I have $5 on my bank account and I make no effort to be charitable, play hard, be a kind and loving human being, invite people over if I like hosting people and having friends, eating good food, enjoying traveling the world, you can do that with a little bit of money.
Right.
Like, all of those things. You can be charitable. You can, if you're not doing that poor, you'll never do it rich.
Yes.
And I have no doubt that anyone can make a whole bunch of money. Money is like, it flows. And if you open the right doors, it will flow in. And you're totally doing that.
Right, right.
I just love how you're under this impression that it's like, no. It is not 55 years from today when I can actually spend the money and play and be charitable and love life. It's today. Right. It's in the grind that I'm 100% enjoying life. And like, I forget that sometimes. And you called that out. For the rest of us, sometimes it's like, yeah, we do this so that we can have great lives, but where's the great life?
But then you never start the great life.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
So what is like your vision? Like, you're doing a lot of things right now. Well, you're doing a few things that are that have massive potential.
Yes.
Like you said, Chase has made a huge name for himself through the financial planning and life sales. You're great at it. Your charisma is like, you're obviously going to be one of the top guys in the whole world.
Thank you. Hopefully.
Yeah. And so what's your vision? Where are you headed? Like, how big do you think currently?
Good question. You want to know the truth?
Yeah.
This sounds terrible. Okay. Have you ever seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes, I
Okay.
have.
Okay. Not a great movie to model your life after. But dude,
It is, though.
Okay. I don't think it sounds terrible because he does a lot of illegal stuff in there. Okay. And I'm not saying the illegal stuff,
Right.
but that dude, okay, Jordan Belfort, he's got some sweet books too, right? Like
Yeah.
after lessons learned now, he's the one you should listen to.
Cool.
But watching that movie, okay, I'm serious. I have never felt more motivation in my life to like just go make something of myself. And again, it sounds terrible because like obviously, you know, the criminal acts, with that out of the picture, the dude took his selling skills and he went out and just made a name for himself. If he would have done it legally, he could have still done what he did.
Yeah.
Okay. But watching that movie and like, I never thought I wanted a yacht.
Right.
Until I watched The Wolf of Wall Street. And I was like, I will have a yacht.
Yeah.
That is like the peak in my mind. That is peak wealth.
Yeah.
Is having a yacht.
A yacht.
Yeah. And I'm like, so what? Call me worldly. I want a freaking yacht. That'd be sick.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So as far as like, where do I see this going? I see sitting on a yacht in 15 years. You know what I mean? So.
Amen, dude.
Yeah.
Off the Baja Peninsula.
Off the Baja Peninsula because we just got done racing.
There you go. That's the vision, dude. Okay.
That's it.
So, The Wolf of Wall Street,
Yep.
right? That movie did the same thing to me.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's gross to watch. It's
Sure.
Definitely just read about it, listeners. You don't need to go watch
Yeah, you don't need to watch it. Leonardo DiCaprio definitely is a good filmmaker, but he throws some things in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt a similar way. But it showed the life cycle of chasing money
Mm-hmm.
versus opening your arms,
Mm-hmm.
embracing and being authentic, and it
Mhm.
coming and flowing to you.
Right.
So in the beginning, he was like totally opening his arms. Money was flowing to
100%.
him. Like things were good. And then the pursuit of money
Mm-hmm. That's where it switched.
soiled his life.
Yep.
I mean, the drugs, the like inability to commit to a wife,
Yep.
the like
Yep.
there's never enough,
Yep.
which there has to be enough, or else the pursuit of money will totally rob you of your life, right?
Right.
I
And
love
push you to
that.
do illegal things like he did.
Yeah.
Right. You got to have there does have to be something that you value more than the money. Right.
Oh my gosh, I like that.
Like you have to value the play or the traveling or your family,
Oh,
something more than just the actual cash in hand or yeah. And I guess that seems pretty obvious, but it's something to keep in mind.
I love how you said that, though. You have to value something in life more than money.
Right.
So before I got married, I didn't date very much.
Mhm.
I just worked, like slaved myself in
Sure.
my business. And I pursued money and nothing else.
Mhm.
I had clients constantly mad at me
Mhm.
because I was not willing to spend the money to fix their products. I didn't have the emotional space for a girlfriend or a wife.
Right.
And I saw myself going down an addictive black hole of seeking dopamine rushes
Yeah.
constantly
Right.
and the easy fix. And starting my family, getting married, pull me out of that.
Mhm.
I feel like I do value something finally larger than the money. But I read this book called God Wants You to Be Rich.
Mhm.
Because in the Bible,
I haven't ever read it, but yeah, I know the
have you heard of it?
I have heard of it, and I heard of the concept, of course, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Go
like
ahead.
the book speaks for itself.
Uh-huh.
God wants you to be rich. And it goes deep into this Christian belief system of like, God elects people and blesses them massively
Mhm.
because of the people who they are. And I seriously think that God plays a massive role in wealth.
Of course.
And like wealth building, business building. If you've ever, like you own a business, like God is sending like the waves of energy, like
Yes.
wow,
Even
this
just
is
the
so easy.
inspiration on clients to reach out to, and yeah, like I would 100%. You got to run your business.
And if the goal is money, I don't think there's that much help.
No.
If the goal is, I'm going to make a sweet life for me and my family,
Mm-hmm.
he's there. He shows up. And it's easier. I don't know.
I love that.
What do you value more than money, and how do you feel like it helps in building your vision?
I value freedom more than money. I think money brings freedom.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you're only ever chasing the money, that freedom never comes because you never give yourself that freedom, right? Like
another dinger, dude. That was deep.
But
say that one more time.
What I say? If you value freedom more than money, but you keep chasing the money, the freedom never comes. Yeah. Like you're just basically you're working too damn hard to ever give yourself some freedom.
Yeah.
Right. So you do have to value that freedom more, because there's got to be a point to which you can enjoy the money. Again, all back to whatever we consider a retirement, right?
Yeah.
But is what you said about like God wants you to be rich. And you've mentioned that if you're just chasing the money, the wealth doesn't really come, right? When you're chasing actually helping people, things like that. Now that's tough because I want to help people, but sometimes I do value that money more.
Yeah.
So it's a constant tug back and forth of trying to say, no, I'm actually doing this for other people, right? I'm not just doing it for the money. But then you see the paycheck and I think, dang, the money's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you start to want to chase that, but then you have to pull yourself back and say, no, it's for other people, right?
Yeah.
So it's a constant back and forth. What was your question again? I apologize.
I forgot, but something new came into my mind. I could imagine that this concept is pretty active with you a lot. So you're building a team of salespeople to sell insurance, life, and retirement plans for people. You as a leader, like I believe personally that people can smell greediness from a mile away.
100%.
So you as a team builder, as you build your team and your company of agents, I'm sure they can smell it from a mile away. If you're bringing 100%. On you're bringing on them on your team just for your sole benefit, I'm sure they would never join.
And that's probably, that was my biggest issue when I first started, was that, okay, I can make money by myself selling products and setting up clients, right?
Yeah.
But I'm only one person.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I was thinking, okay, well, the way to maximize my income is to gather more minions, right? To help build my company. And then I started to do that and I started to pursue that. But like you said, people quickly realized like, oh, I'm just kind of a pawn in his game.
Yeah.
Right. So, and in my business, it's a little bit easier because you can sell the dream very easily. Like in what I do, you can run your own hours, right? You can, as long as you're helping people, you're making pretty good money. The dream's not really hard to sell. So is what I'm saying is converting them to the idea is not tough at all. Yeah. But even though they're converted to the idea, when they realize that their leader is only there for the money, like you said, there's no motivation. I had a really tough time getting agents licensed and just getting them to actually do stuff like setting up appointments and reaching out to people and learning the material, because I don't think they were truly, it was kind of the blind leading the blind in the beginning.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And that's so good to realize is like, oh my gosh, like if I make the people around me rich, successful, and happy and blessed, then I have to, like, there's only
one way to go
that I will get the same.
Yep. Exactly.
And man, that is such a beautiful concept. Like, the more I can contribute to the people around me, like lately, so Casey and I, we planned this trip to New York, and of course we had the money to pay for it, but like, I wanted to just test the universe, or God, or whatever. Like, I wanted to test, like, does God really want me to be doing this? So I said, are we gonna I told myself, and I talked to God about it, kind of just to chit chat. I just chit chat with him, like the whole formal prayer thing. I'm like, suck at.
No, I love it.
So I'm like, yo, bro, like, pay for this trip.
Yeah.
I will do everything in my power this week to make all those around me as blessed as possible.
Mhm.
So I was on the phone with mortgage people, like my mortgage guy, giving him like 50 referrals.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
reaching out to other friends saying, hey, what do you need this week? What can I get you? Do you need referrals? Do you need like clients? Like, what can I get you? And then I reached out to one of my friends, and he was looking for an investor in his business who's starting a marketing firm, and he needed like a big investment in his firm.
Yeah.
Like, and then I had this other friend who had just sold a tire, like, sorry, I won't tell you who it is, but he just sold his businesses and made a whole bunch of money.
Sure.
I connected those two people. I was like, I'm
Phenomenal.
going to help you. I know you're making like at least a small fortune on this.
Yeah.
If you can find
Yeah.
an investor, this is huge.
Yeah.
So I put the two together. I had found a bunch of friends, agents, and it was just them focused. By the end of the week, I had made about $4,500
Nice.
in just referral fees
That's amazing.
for helping friends out.
That's amazing.
The investment went super good. The business is on its way to make millions. I think they're headed like, and it paid for my trip.
Yeah.
It more than triple paid for my trip. The trip was like maybe $2,000.
Sure.
And like, it just goes to show like when I stop chasing the money,
Mm-hmm.
it flows.
Mm-hmm.
And when I start helping, like trying to make everyone else's situation better, it only is bound to come back to me. And that's like what you do for a living. Like,
Well, it's a good reminder for me
It's
because
cool.
even though, what I do for a living is the actual job title is basically helping people,
yeah.
it's still easy to chase the money and get greedy. Right.
So we have enough time for like one more thing. And I wanted to ask you, just because you're like the more authentic of anybody
Sure.
I've ever met.
Okay.
Like
Appreciate that, man.
seriously, like just like so real. The other day I was driving down the road. Okay, so we were passing each other in the neighborhood. And I'm like this, like leaned back, really cool, my shades on, and I do this little peace sign to him, and it's like a little quick one, and he like drives his truck into my
Starts
lane,
over here.
about freaking crashes into me and lays on his horn. He's like, and I was like, bro, who the hell am I trying to like pretend to be this cool guy? And Sam's just like being so alive and freaking cool and happy, and like
I do remember that. That was
I
good.
saw
That was good.
his wife in the passenger seat, like she's just dying laughing at him. Like, dude, this
She just deals
guy
with that crap.
has like he just walks around the earth like it's his, and I love it. Like, who am I trying to be? So can we just talk about that? Like,
Mhm.
what made you that way? Who didn't shame you? What childhood experience did you have that you just felt like you can just be yourself? Like, just tell me about
That's
that.
tough. Is to pinpoint it. I don't know. I was always in high school in FFA,
Okay.
but even still, it stems before that. Like, it gave me a pretty good leadership position, if you will, in high school and in the crowd or whatever. But FFA is pretty stinking boring sometimes, and so you have to make it fun with activities and things. And I found a lot of confidence because I was the fun guy, and then everybody was like, "I'm Sam," like, and I became kind of the fun guy in that circle in high school. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And I think that gave me kind of an avenue that, like, oh, you can lead, and people really enjoy being around you if you're just kind of a bubbly guy. I come from a family of mom and dad are both very, very loving, very like ambitious, and so maybe built a lot of confidence in me growing up that like we just make it happen for ourselves. And it was a really good mentality, not an unhealthy way at all. It was a very good mentality to grow up with. Like, yeah, I can make my own fun. I make my own success, and I think that's pushed a lot of everything that I do.
That's so cool. And it's true, like everybody has
what it takes inside of them to
Right.
build a successful and happy and fruitful, wealthy life.
100%.
It's just us standing in our own ways of like, do I have what it takes? Do I have in me? And the answer is, you've proved it for the rest of us, dude. Like, we're standing in our own ways.
Right.
Like, you started a freaking silk coating company off of a whim of an idea,
Right.
and you just made it like it happened. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
just plan on it
Pretty
working
quickly.
out, because it's gonna.
Well, and I
You
kind
know?
of went at it with the mentality of like, I got time to lose. Like if I'm gonna screw up, now would be the time.
Yeah.
I don't got kids, and that's a cool way to live life too.
Yeah.
Like Chase, again, back to him, like his like mantra is, why not try it, right? Like you may as well try it. And he once told me, like, I never say no to anything. And I thought that was really interesting, because I'll come to him with like business ideas, and I say, I don't know. It sounds like, I'll propose the idea or something, like, hey, let's say the seal coating, like, hey, I'm really looking into getting into this. I did a job for a boss one time, and it was actually pretty easy, and I think I can afford a machine or whatever and get into it. And he was like, yeah, try it. Like, why not? Like, what do you have to lose? And I was like, good point. Yeah. Like what's the worst that could happen? Like, oh, I have to sell the business or whatever. Like, and so I think that's a cool way to go about life. And kind of going back to where we were at the beginning, like, we're all trained to be these perfect employees and to not take these risks at all in life. And then we all graduate high school, go to college, take on a bunch of debt, get a job. And at that point, you're too far down the line to make any mistakes.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a job, you ain't making your house payment, you ain't paying off your student debts, like, and you just go down this terrible rabbit hole. And so I've been lucky enough to have mentors around me at a young age to set myself up for that. And even if you are past that point, it doesn't mean that you can't get yourself out of those holes and start over. Like, you're never too.
And I always lean on, like, bankruptcy is the worst that could happen. Like, for me, in every situation, if I make a giant financial risk, bankruptcy is the worst that could happen.
That's the worst that can happen.
Have you ever met somebody that's been through bankruptcy? They're alive. They're fine.
They still have their family.
They have food and water,
Yeah.
Like, usually, like, I mean, it's a saving grace in most cases if you can file for the right bankruptcy. Like, I mean, you're kind of saved.
Yeah.
I took out to lunch this guy who, he didn't tell me how much he's worth.
Sure.
He just owns a bunch of crap. Like, he owns the most real estate of everyone.
He probably doesn't even know how much he's worth. He just is chasing it. Yeah.
And like, he is like probably 65, 70, and he's just 2 years past a bankruptcy. Like, one of his projects completely went terrible. Bankrupt, and then 2 years later, he's worth like 4 or 5 times more than what he was before the bankruptcy. And it's like, you can take the life out of the man, but, or you can take the man out of the life, but you can't take the life out of the man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are who you become through your experiences. You can't take that out of somebody. So,
have you ever noticed, like with people like this that you're saying, like a guy like him, he's made it to that point, lost it all, and got right back to there that fast.
Yeah.
But getting to that is what I'm saying is, you see people like that actually all the time, to where they become really successful, lose it all, and then become really successful again. But then you have other people who never even dare to even try to become successful.
Yeah.
Right. And so what that proves is it's really not that hard if you just know the right steps to take. And people that have become successful know exactly what to do. They're like, well, worst case, I just have to do it again.
Yeah.
And
just me hanging out with him that day raised my level of like, oh yeah, I could be like him.
Yeah.
Like, raised my belief that where I could go in life.
100%.
And so what we're saying and what you mentioned is like, it says a lot about who you spend your time with. Like, if you had never spent real time with your brother-in-law Chase,
right,
like, you would have never had the ideas. You never would have trusted yourself, and you never thought it was worth it, right?
Right.
Like, it's possible because of the people around us.
Right.
So surround yourself with good, uplifting, amazing people. And
I think about that all the time. Like, if I wouldn't have had some of those guys like Chase in my family, like, my mom's gonna hear this, I'm sure, but she has her job. She's an awesome, hardworking lady. She has her job, her house, and her dogs, and she's totally content with that. And I love that, right?
yeah,
But that's, I want to chase something probably more. She's very happy, and I love it for her. But if I would have never had Chase, like an entrepreneurial kind of guy like that, I probably would just be totally content with a job,
yeah,
just working like that, which is fine. And you gotta have some people like that. You gotta have entrepreneurs. You gotta have homeless people, right? Like, you gotta have everything.
yeah.
But having Chase helped me realize there's a lot more to life. And then kind of just circling back to what you said, like, God wants you to be rich. You're totally useless in his hands if you're paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
You know, so being wealthy, being in a position to where you can actually help people.
It's a massive blessing to everyone around you.
100%.
Just to have the mindset of like, what's possible.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Elevate all your friends, everything.
Well, we're wrapping up. Thank you for this awesome message. We've talked about the importance of mentorship, the importance of who you surround yourself with. We've talked about how to be alive, stay away from society's shame or just shame of life. We've talked about the seal coating business.
Yep.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, sweet.
A website link, phone number for Sam. Sam, how can we find you? How can we help you? What are your plugs?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook's the easiest. My Instagram, Sam Weiberg 88. And then Samuel Weiberg on Facebook. I do some of my videos on like some of the products that we do with Common Sense Financial. And then of course our website is mycommonsensefinancial.com. But
awesome. So if you're looking for another opportunity to be an entrepreneur, own your own business in the financial space, reach out to Sam. But also, 100%. If you're looking for your driveway to get sealed,
hit me up.
Hit him up.
Or to get your deer head boiled.
Hey, yes.
I actually do that.
It's boiling deer heads too.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for everything you've shared. Thanks for being real. And until next time, stay alive.
Appreciate it.
Let's go.
Thanks, man.